Now I'm going to switch gears quickly because this activity that I like to do is called contra dancing. And I've done that since about 1983 actually. But when I moved back to this area in '88 and started dancing up in Norwich, and then we started dancing in Norfolk next, but the Norfolk dance, and then later the Newport News dance, we were trying to find a place with a wooden floor. So in 2005, the city recreation department was putting out their survey for the Dimney Community Center. And I looked on the survey and it had all these categories. There were dozens of them. It filled front and part of the back of the page. And one of them said dance room. So I said, well, if I could take this survey to the groups where I'm involved, plus to these square dance groups and other groups that also would like to see a nice dance room, maybe we could have one in that new community center. So, and guess what? When that survey, when the results came out, the #1 category, above gymnasium, above swimming pool, above anything else on that, was a dance room. And so there is a dance room there. We wanted it large enough that you could actually have a community dance, not just for 20 people, but you could have it, 60 people or more, and have a live band, which what we do up in Norwich and over in Norfolk now. So that shows the results of people working together, doing something as simple as doing a survey. Now, a petition is very similar, and we have petitions for the city forum out on the table today, and you're welcome to sign them, please. And we think if you can get enough people wanting something and saying they want something, it does have an influence on those who will vote on this eventually. Now, the big issue I've been involved with in the last 11 years, or 12 years actually, coming up in October, was Fort Monroe. And the issue there, of course, is all that land there, and the city came out first that they wanted to put development out there, Hampton's newest neighborhood. So they had what they call a charrette. A charrette is when you get all these people together. You have tables, maybe you have maps on them, and people put down on paper, on these maps, drawing maps, what they want the place to see, to look like in the future. So that's what they did one Saturday. And so later, I think it was maybe that following week, so they went back, the professionals made their plans, and they come back, here's what they come back with. After a lot of people have put down they want either a national or a state park there, they come back and say, well, we have 3 ideas here. Development all the way from the moated fortress up to Bay Breeze, the community center of the Farmer Officers Club. So I was pretty much taking all the vacant land that was there on the bay in the Mill Creek and putting in housing developments. And there were several reasons for not doing that. First of all, it has great historic significance. Second, it was a great recreational value and in the middle of Hampton Roads that a lot of people could enjoy. And of course, third, it's right on a floodplain. That place has been flooded not only in Isabel, but since then, Fort Monroe has had floods that have flooded up to the first floor level of some of the buildings, and that area was one of the lowest areas on Fort Monroe. So we were able to save almost everything in that area. We're down to 50 acres. We're trying to get the last 50 acres, and we're still working on that. But more than half the land on Fort Monroe is now part of the National Park Service. And what I learned from that was the value of persistence and the value of a core group working together over a long period of time. And I joined the group, Citizens for Fort Monroe Park, in 2006, and I'm still working with that group. We have a meeting coming up this week at the Fort Monroe Authority. So Riverview Farm Park. Well, When the idea of closing the farm as a prison farm came up in 2015. It was the big news in the newspaper, what would happen. And I went back and looked at all the articles I could find and information. I located the master plan for the Riverview Farm Park, and I learned that there had been a lot of work done in planning for that area. And going back, well, not only to 68, but an article I found recently said they were talking about making the park in 1962. I was 13 years old, and now I'm a bit older than that. And we have, and that was a 1987 article, and one of the men they quoted in the article from Denby Concerned Citizens is working with us now. He was in his 40s. He's up there. Get close to 80 now. So you see, there's several reasons for keeping it. If you look at Newport News, it's a long, narrow city. Most of the waterfront that's available to people now is at the south end. There's Huntington Park, which is actually it's the busiest park in the city, even though it's fairly small compared to Newport News Park. But it's really the busiest in the city, and a big part of that is the fact that it has a beach and it has access to the water. And the other thing is going up to, well, if you go up, and I put videos on YouTube about this. First I did it on land, and I showed the part that's developed. And if you start at Riverside Drive and you just drive as close as you can to the water, you go all the way up to Lucas Creek, just before you get to Lucas Creek, which is just south of Denby Boulevard. And there's no place where you can put it in a boat. There's no real park. There's a couple places where there's a road that ends at close to the water's edge, and the right of way you could walk down to the water. But there's no real park there. It's just a narrow strip of land. And so the reason I think we should save City Farm is because it should be for all the people. First of all, it's owned by all the people. The people own it now. It's been promised, it's been planned for, well, definitely it was adopted by the City Council in 1991. And they had a commission working on making plans and doing it in phases. So, and they went through the first phase, and the second phase was actually open up the waterfront. But there was one catch there. The prisoners had to be moved somewhere else before that could happen. So it's been delayed all those years. And then 2 years ago, they said, well, it's been so long now, we have to go back and rethink what we decided 25, 26 years ago. And so we are working hard to make them realize that the solution was found back then, and we should not mess with that. I guess I want to summarize a few things here. From the work camp at Chelsea, I learned that being on a mission required doing whatever was necessary at the time. It needed to be a team effort in order to be effective. There would be other people coming along later to carry on the mission's ultimate goals of reaching and serving people. So we were there to lay the groundwork, not directly to interact with the people, even though we did have some interaction. But other people would come along and carry on the mission of the church. From the community center, Denby Community Center, I learned the value of contacting like-minded people. And I believe there's a lot of people out there that would join us in doing the right thing if we just get in touch with them and encourage them to do so. The biggest problem is people thinking it's already a done deal. It's not a done deal. If you think about it, when they were trying to build a super Walmart on Hampton Road Center Parkway, enough people came out there and stopped that. And there's no business that's bigger than Walmart is. I mean, that's about as big as you can get on a retail basis. And so if enough people stand up and say, this is how it must be, I think we can make people understand, particularly since they have to run for re-election if they want to stay in city council. For Point Monroe, the value of persistence, also about studying the issues on a deep level and making contacts with a variety of people. And I learned that some of the people who were hesitant to say anything, particularly the politicians, eventually, when they saw there was a groundswell of support for the park, some of them came around. And then they, it's kind of, they saw the parade coming by and then they got in front of it to leave. Sometimes that happens with politicians. So I want to, and from Riverview, well, I continue to learn a lot more. What does it take? Some come with plans to build on our land, improvements of what they declare. But what could be better than what God has given? It's nature we want to keep there. There's plenty of city for them to enjoy, and real estate to buy and sell. But we need this land to uplift our spirits, a part of how we can stay well. What is it to take to make good things happen? It takes you, it takes me, it takes us. A lot more than spending an hour together and all of these issues discussed. It's time to get out there and gather petitions to go to the council, demand this park must be kept, all down to the river. For this park indeed is our land.